What red flag should you look out for before you choose to marry a Kenyan who lives in diaspora? Especially when you're a woman who is getting hitched to a man who has lived in diaspora for a while. Now, I know many of you already know that a lot of Africans who live in diaspora end up marrying partners from, I would say, straight from the motherland. Some people call it straight from the boat. And I know in my personal life there are quite a few people within my circle who traveled specifically to different parts of Africa to find spouses. Now, no doubt, this is a decision that comes with its own sets of benefits, but it's fraught with all kinds of risks on both parties. Unfortunately, most of what I've seen floated out there is mostly discussions about the risks there are on the part of the returnee coming to find a spouse in Africa. Again, some of these personal conversations have really significant implications for those of us who are planning to eventually return. Because I've seen folks struggle a bit when one person has lived in diaspora for a while and the other partner just arrived from the motherland. And so when the partner who's lived in diaspora for a while is preparing to get back home, it becomes an issue. So this is a much bigger topic that I think needs more than 10 minutes. And so today I'm just going to spend the next few minutes sharing some of my experiences with diasporans who travel to Africa to find life partners. And I'll specifically focus on some of the challenges and the red flags that people need to keep in mind, because these things have serious implications. And by the way, before I go too far, I want you to pay keen attention to the quality of workmanship on the metal work on the windows. This is one of the main reasons I'm showing you this video again. The metal works on this house is just on another level. But that aside, as I was saying earlier, that in my circle, I know so many of my friends, not so many, but quite a few of my friends who have traveled to Africa, or different parts of Africa to find spouses. Many of them have lived successfully. A lot of them, it didn't work out. But again, before I go too far, welcome to Kajiado, friends. This is Kajiado in Kenya. It's not too far from Nairobi, and in my mind, this is virtually within the outskirts of what is considered Nairobi. We are back at my cousin's incredible house. She and her husband have done an exceptional job, as you can tell, building a very, very cozy home. And so, for those of you who have not seen this house, again, we are doing another walkthrough, but with a different angle altogether. So this is one of the homes that was designed right from scratch, and everything in it, including the interiors, was built and put together by one of the teams that I'm working with. And so if you see something that interests you, whether it's metal works, the painting works, the tiling, landscaping, wall, this is the exact same team that I work with. I work with about 4 or 5 different teams that help me with the construction work that I do for diasporans and other Kenyans who are interested in the kind of work we do. And by the way, lately I've been getting quite a bit of traffic from Kenyans who've never lived in diaspora, but are also curious to build homes the kind we care about. So this is one of the homes that the teams that I work with build. And I think this is one of the better done homes I've seen lately. So be sure to text us if you see something that interests you in here that you may want our team to help you with. Our number is obviously posted in all of our videos. Just send us a WhatsApp text and we will get back to you. But as I mentioned earlier, I want you to pay particular attention to the metal work, the cladding on the outside, the paint work, look at the fencing, any tiling work. The overall design and layout of the house may not be super clear in this video because I've only shot just bits and pieces of it. And also I want you to look at the moldings and the landscaping. To me, those are some of the really, really outstanding features of this home. And it's all delivered by one of the teams that I work with. So if you're interested in anything that you see here, just shoot me a text via WhatsApp and we'll help where we can. Now, if you're new to our channel, typically we film from Karateng, which is in Western Kenya. That's my home, that's where we live. But we go back and forth between Karateng and Long Beach in California. I am a Kenyan American who is planning to retire home, not necessarily retire home, but return home permanently. Hopefully, I don't have to live in diaspora longer than necessary, but I've been doing a lot to get myself back and to help my friends do the same. So for today, we welcome you to Kajiado. Join us this wonderful afternoon, and let's have a conversation about this issue that keeps coming up from my subscribers. So anyway, for today's topic, I will begin by, of course, starting with the disclaimers. That number one, everything I say here and in all of my videos are mostly based on my personal experiences and those of others who are within my circle of influence. So it's likely that some of the things I'll say may not apply to your case at all. So again, as I always say, don't take it out on me if in case I'm describing something that doesn't perfectly align with your experience. This is my personal experience that is very subjective. And again, whatever you hear from this, if you're not Kenyan or if you're not a person that I'm talking about, please don't apply it broadly with other Kenyans you've never met. My experiences are very limited to the people that I meet and the people that I know. So that said, some Africans living in diaspora, and again, this is not just a Kenyan phenomenon. This is something that applies across the board. I see it with Nigerians, I see it with Ugandans, I see it with South Africans, and that's why today you'll hear me keep using the term African diaspora. Now, some of us, and most likely a minority of us, choose to travel to Africa to find spouses. I don't think it's a lot of people, but there's a specific group of us that travel to Africa to get spouses. And one may ask, why would you do that? Especially given that in diaspora, especially in places like the US, the number of single, eligible, beautiful, excellent black women far, far, far outnumbers the number of eligible men. In fact, sometimes I wonder where all the men are. Because in my circle now, nearly everyone is married. I probably know maybe only one or two single friends. But most of the men in my circles are married. But the women are so eligible, so beautiful, so accomplished. Yet, some of us choose to leave all of that, go home to find spouses. You may wonder why. Now, there's all kinds of reasons that have been floated out there. And here are just some examples that I hear. Number one, that you're likely to find that the folks who do this are often men who sometimes by chance encounters run into excellent women at home. And so they come to diaspora, then travel back to go and bring the wonderful people they've met. So I've met quite a few people who never planned to bring women from Africa, but through chance encounters, they met excellent people, and so they are working to bring them to diaspora. The second group that I hear are some men who seem to have a very strong preference for women who have minimal contact with the Western world. So women who have never lived in diaspora may be very different culturally. And so I know there are some men in my circle who find a lot of cultural congruence between them and women who have not really adjusted to the Western world, whatever that may mean. But I've also seen people who have issues with power. Because often when you bring a person from Africa, you tend to have more power over them. And some people tend to like that. And these same folks, in some cases, struggle with engaging with women who are empowered. That might be an explanation. And then I also have friends who have an over-romanticized idea of what it's like to date women in Africa. And oftentimes these ideas are influenced by their past dating experiences. So they may have been dating while back in Kenya, then they move to diaspora, and they still think when they go back to Africa, dating would remain the same. So they'll go back home thinking, okay, whatever dating life I had 20 years ago, it should be exactly the same. Sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't. And then there are other folks who get connected by their relatives back in Africa, where somebody knows someone who's single, and then the two of them are connected. Then the seventh group includes people with certain, I would say, some peculiarities that may be hard to describe, especially people who have some personality issues, temperament issues, and so they have a much harder time dating women who already live in the US. And then, of course, this includes people who are fairly inflexible, especially around issues of culture. And so they find a lot of comfort dating women who have not really adopted as much to the Western world. unfortunately, again, within my small circle, 7 out of 10 relationships that I know stemming out of these kinds of connections don't seem to work well. Now, so for women, here's what I would say you look out for. For one, ask how long this guy has lived abroad. If he's lived for 10, 20 years and nothing solid going on, that may be a red flag. It doesn't have to be, but it may be a red flag. Now, does this guy have friends? If he doesn't have friends, maybe you want to be careful. And then, does this guy, what kind of social skills does he have? And then you also look at signs of control. Some people who may have issues with letting you be independent, may have issues letting you meet other people, or they may have problems when you're progressing, going to school and doing all of that. So watch out for things like that, because those might be red flags when you see that in a man who leaves diaspora to come get a woman. Also, men who are not that much culturally adjusted may also have issues too. And I'm not even talking about men who have adjusted to language and things like that. In general, many of us men struggle adjusting to the West. Those who struggle the most are the ones who are more likely to travel back to look for women in Africa. And then find out about their perceptions about gender roles. Are these people who are comfortable sharing duties at home and things like that? If they're not, then that might also be a red flag before you move to diaspora. So also find out about their previous entanglements, and not necessarily from them. Diaspora is a very small world. You'll find somebody who knows somebody somewhere. At least do your homework, find out what their previous entanglements look like and whether you want to commit to that. But in general, I would say if you ever meet a man who is traveling from diaspora to come marry you from Africa, don't be scared. These things work out under the right circumstance. And underline the statement, under the right circumstance. But just like with every other relationship, these types of unions have their own challenges. I'm not saying they're better or they're worse. They just have some things you want to be aware of before you jump head first. So what I would say too is that don't let the allure of diaspora enhance your capacity to ignore red flags. Because sometimes folks are so focused on traveling to diaspora that you're so willing to ignore red flags. So please don't do that, because in many cases, the women will see the red flags. So when you see them, don't ignore those red flags, because they may come to bite you later on after moving to diaspora. Now, I also say it's okay to commit to such a relationship. However, also consider the possibility that it may not work out. Like in any other relationship, we walk in and sometimes things work out, other times they don't. So be open to the possibility that it may not work out. And by that, I simply mean it's okay to think about having a parachute just in case. I'm not saying you should go in with your feet spread in and out, but all I'm saying is don't walk in and sleep in class, because these relationships are often very tough, especially the first couple of years. If you survive the first 2 years, likely you guys are going to hang in there for a relatively long period of time. Now, whatever you do, if you ever commit to one of these, never ever lose your sense of independence. Whether it means having a career, making your own money, don't ever give that up. And then don't ever cut yourself from your support links. Now, that's it for today, and I will see you in the next one. Thank you. Bye.